and we're figuring this out with newbies. I'll show this on there just to give them that little plug. We are on Restream now for everybody listening. We left StreamYard, not because it was bad, but because the cool thing about this, Tom, is with Restream, we're going live on your LinkedIn feed profile and my LinkedIn profile all at the same
Yeah.
time. Who knew?
Plus a whole bunch of other places, I guess, from what I understand. So it doesn't matter
Yes.
where you
Well,
are, you will not be able to escape us.
absolutely. I know for everybody watching, whether you're on the recorded version or not, I think go ahead and add your comments like normal. There might be a request on Restream to actually give Restream permission in order to do that. If not, we will. It'll tell you what to do, and then that way we can see your comments and we can put them up on the screen, just like we used to do at when we were on StreamYard.
Yeah.
Sound
And it
about
looks
right?
like there's some other fancier things we'll be able to do in the future once we figure all this out. Because there's a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
lot of
Let's see.
capabilities
Oh, I
here.
can make us that way, and I can add the captions. All right, that sounds good. We got tickers.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
I'm sure we're
we'll give it.
boring everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, we probably are. Okay, well, if we're boring everybody, we're sorry. We're just playing with a new toy. So, like always, add your comments, add your questions. In today's topic, Tom, I'll set it up. Sound good?
Sure. Let's do it.
So today's topic, yeah. So today's topic is when should you ask for a meeting when you're using social prospecting or social selling? And this topic has been brought it back up again because I was asked over the weekend. Shout out to Andre, who we were chatting inside LinkedIn, and he was asking that question. And it's a question we get asked. I get asked quite a bit. How about you, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of questions kind of related to all of that. Like, what do you do to lead up to that? And then what if you ask and you don't get, or, there's a lot of
Mhm.
questions that kind of surround that. Obviously that milestone of the meeting.
Yeah, and that's how we add comments into Restream now. There we go.
All right.
Hello
All
from
right.
Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
So it
wow.
means we're live. We're going. So yeah, I think you know the so as I've been coaching and working with sales professionals and C-suite business owners, customer success people around using social to create conversations, build rapport, and all of that with the goal of earning meetings or staying top of mind with individuals. And over the years, is what I've learned with customers, is where I developed the social outreach system. And the social outreach system is really based on the fact that just like offline content or conversations, content, words, topics creates conversations. Conversations develop relationships, and through relationships is where opportunities happen. And the way that I built that over the years is just imagining the infinity loop and realizing that these four things are kind of all on the different areas of the infinity loop. And this is the way that we build relationships. So we have topics, we have conversations, builds relationships, and turns into opportunities. Thank you, Deborah. I like my shirt too. Thanks for coming, Deborah. Um, and in the process of doing that, then we have to take a look at if we're building rapport, we're building relationship, we're having conversations, just like real life. If we're at a conference, we're at a networking event, wherever it may be, if we ask for the meeting too soon, we'll potentially lose the opportunity. We don't want to ask someone to marry us too early. We scare them off, type of thing. We hear that analogy all the time. And so I think it's a great question. It says, hey, if I'm trying to do this more of a prospecting and building rapport, well, when do I actually ask for the meeting?
I think there's a second part to that too, that, you ask, what do I hear? But I think there's a second part to that that I've heard, right? Which is like, when do I start to, whether it's even a meeting or I'm just having a online conversation, when do I start talking about my product or my service or what it
Hmm.
is that I sell? Like, when do I transition from a more general conversation to a more product specific one? And I think that's something that takes a bit of, you don't want to be abrupt, right? Or just completely, making a big left turn right in the middle of building a conversation and turn it into a sales pitch. But,
Right.
a meeting, I guess what I was going to say is the meeting doesn't necessarily have to be around your product or your service or selling anything. Or I think that's a
Hmm.
misconception that I get a lot from people is, well, if I'm asking for that meeting, then I'm asking to do a sales pitch,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
think that's an important thing to understand is that a meeting or a conversation or something that's maybe off the LinkedIn or off of the traditional social, whether you're doing it through Zoom or whatever you're going to do, it doesn't mean that you have to have um, a sales pitch or you have to talk about your product or anything like that. In fact,
Yeah.
it may just be to learn more about their company so that later on you can tell them more about what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I address that in three ways through the social outreach system. If I can kind of walk through those, and then Tom, please,
Sure.
comment on each one of them. But there's three kind of systems, if you will, or a cadence that we can manage, we can control, that leads to the opportunities. Or the way I like to say it is that these are activities that we can do. Therefore, we have some control in our activities to set up to help us earn the opportunity to ask for the meeting. So the first one is a little bit slower, perhaps, in a lot of people's mind, but this is the process that it goes. It is go and engage with somebody 5 times. And when I say engage, go to their post activity, because we know that 99.5% of people, I think the number is really about 98%, um, don't post at least once a month. So we hear that all the time. My customers never post. Totally get that. And thanks, Nick, for joining. Earn those meetings and the right to pitch. Absolutely. And I think it's earn those meetings and a right to a conversation. And then through that conversation, we have a chance to pitch. But so the social outreach system is engage, comment on an activity that they have done, liked, commented, or published themselves. But comment so you get in front of them 5 times, then ask for a connection. Right? We see a big uptick, about 80% increase in accepted connection requests when somebody does that. Then when they accept the connection, it is thank them for the connection, go and comment again, and then ask for the opportunity for a meeting. But it's not the pitch. It's
Right.
more of, hey, we seem to be engaging with the same post. We know that that's true. We know that they've been getting notifications because we've been actively, intentionally commenting on their post activity. So we know they've been seeing us. And we say something along the lines of like, hey, I've been seeing you, you've been popping in my feed, we keep commenting on the same post, anything along those lines. Would you be interested in getting on a Zoom and get to know each other? And for me, that conversation is not a sales conversation. That is just a get to know, ask questions. This is where I pull out the how to win friends and influence people model and talk about them, ask them questions, and wait for them to get to a point where they say, well, what exactly do you do? What do you
Yeah. And I
think of
think
that model, Tom?
I
Yeah.
think it's good. And I think we did a session, if you remember, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, we talked about mindset. And I think it's really important on the mindset part of it as well, that you're going into this not from, okay, how am I finding a way to pitch? But you go
Right.
into it finding, I'm genuinely interested in learning more about you. I'm genuinely interested in learning more about your business. and I'm genuinely interested because I want to see if there's a way that I could help you, not necessarily sell you something, but I can help you. If you go in with that mindset, right, the other part of it will come, right? They're going to want to
Yeah.
know what you do and how you can. So I've just found it's a lot easier, and it takes a lot of the stress out of it as well. Like, oh my God, someone's going to, is just to think about, okay, I'm genuinely interested in learning. I'm meeting this person. I'm genuinely
Yeah.
interested in knowing what they do and what their business is, and where the synergies are. Even if there's not a sales opportunity, is there a partner opportunity or whatever? On the flip side of that, this is just me personally. If it's somebody for whatever reason, I just don't feel like I can get interested or excited about or passionate about, I'm not going to ask for the meeting. I'm going to move on. There's no shortage of people.
Right.
So don't go just, don't just go push something because you feel like you have to push something. If you go in genuinely interested, all of everything else will take care of itself. And I think that came across loud and clear in our conversation with Carson a couple of weeks ago, Carson Hetty at
Hmm.
Microsoft, on some of the techniques that he's had as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point, Tom, is that the technique is a technique, but the mindset behind it influences how you show up. And
Yes.
a big part of it, um, like um, like Chris Tuff would say, is if your motivation is to connect with people, it's going to come out and
Mhm.
that'll happen. But if your motivation is to connect with people in order to snag them, then that's
Right.
going to come out too. And
Right. Right.
it's not going to win. And that's to your point of mindset of this is so, so important.
Well, and if you, again, even going back to what you were saying on your 5 steps and the process there, again, if you look at what you're doing from the viewpoint that, hey, you're trying to get to know somebody and use that as a way to build a relationship, hence the key word of social selling, right? Is relationship, or the correct social selling is relationship. If you just
Social
look at that
prospecting.
right all the way through, then it's just naturally an organic process to end up wanting to get to know them even more or do more with them. Or but as soon as you have an inkling, I'm doing this because I'm going to try and sell something, everybody can smell that a mile away,
Yeah.
even digitally. And I mean, how many connection requests, I probably get now 10 to 12 connection requests a day, and I can tell in 2 seconds whether or not it's a genuine connection
Yeah.
request or it's like trying to set the hook, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, right away.
Yeah. And that's where I think the value of engaging with somebody. And thanks for that, Candace. I popped that up because Candace and you were kind of saying the exact same thing at the exact same time. Um,
Well, great
that
minds think alike.
exactly. Candace does have a great mind. Hi, Candace, my friend. Appreciate you coming. And of course, Andre's here. Don't want to leave Andre out. Thanks for coming, Andre. And I know there's going to be questions from you, so I can't wait. But yeah, I mean the concept of here's what I like about it is that we can control our behavior, which means we're being intentional and we're taking action by going and commenting on posts that our prospects, if you will, the people that we want to build connection with, that they are commenting on. So it gives us I don't want to say a sense of control. It actually, we can control our activity. And that activity we know because of the way LinkedIn works. If I comment, they're going to get a notification. They might even get an email from LinkedIn that
Mhm.
says, hey, Tom, Brandon, my picture, my name, my headline,
You might even get it on your
commented.
Apple Watch. You might even get your
It,
picture of them right on your Apple Watch, right? It happens all the time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good point. I hadn't even thought about it. And I get it all the time on my
Yeah.
watch. I hadn't even
Yeah.
thought about it as an added bonus. So they
Yeah.
might get it on their watch, in an email, in their notifications, and maybe they get an email on their computer, and then they maybe get an email on their phones. So we got multiple touches where we can get our mugs and our name in front of your prospect. So we actively can do that and get ourselves known, recognized in their mindset, in their thoughts, however we want to say that, relatively quickly by doing that every 2 or 3 days within a 1 to 2 week period.
Yes. Yes. And again, just keeping that mindset that you're genuinely interested and you want to know, right? And then it's fun
Yeah,
too. It doesn't become such a, oh God, I got to go do my posts or I've got to go do, it doesn't become a drag. It becomes, an interesting thing to do.
yeah,
And, and I have learned this, right? I mean, I'm relatively new to the LinkedIn world as far as building relationships in the last 6 months or so, but I've really, really, really learned that it's if you're just interested in lots of interested in the people and interested in the and even how you comment, that you're really interested in providing value back in that comment. It's amazing how much the whole process accelerates, right? Your whole 4 steps
yeah,
that you went through accelerates, and
yeah,
people are going to be asking you for the meeting. You don't even have to wait for the meeting. They're going to be asking you
yeah,
for the meeting, along the way.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, I was just gonna say it's amazing to see how it all just sort of naturally blossoms if you do it from the right mindset and from the right intention. And you can on the flip side, if you do it with the wrong mindset and the wrong intention, it can go south very quickly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Andre, I want to let you know, I see your question there. Give us a minute to come back around to that, but I'd love to answer that question for you. Um, yeah, and I think to um, this is what I learned in my first sales job back in the 90s, right? It was told to me that my job was to go be known and liked and trusted first and foremost. And I
Sure.
was taught, don't sell too quickly, right?
Okay.
Go meet people, go to the happy hours. I had a budget that I could spend to either bring people donuts or bagels or
Sure.
go to baseball games or whatever it may be. And it was embedded in me back then of go meet people and build rapport. And it's going to take time. And now in modern times, we got people that they get their job and within a few days they're pounding the phones because they have to hit their numbers by the end of the month. And it's hard to have that mindset of going, and I hate to say it, it's like go slow to move fast is what I've always said. But I'm almost to the point of saying it's not about going slow to move fast. It's about going smart to move fast.
Yeah, exactly. Smart and authentic, I guess, go smart
Yeah.
and authentic and it'll move fast. You know,
Hmm.
and and it'll qualify too if it'll help you self or help qualify the process as well if there isn't an opportunity or a place to build the relationship. So that's fine.
Right.
You don't want to waste your
Yeah.
time with somebody who's not willing to have a relationship. They're certainly not going to buy anything if they're not willing to have some build a relationship online or otherwise as you go forward. So
Yeah. Now, on the social outreach system, the first step is what I just explained. We engage 5 times, send a connection request, thank them, engage once or twice more, and then do that. Hey, we keep seeing each other. The other option, and I kind of created this with people because they didn't feel as empowered with the first option. And so the second option was, well, go ahead and send a cold connection request to somebody. And if you're going to do that, what I recommend is don't put a message in there, just drop the connection request. You're probably going to get fewer people that accept it, but that's kind of the downside to it. But when they accept it, don't go into their direct message, then go and engage with them.
mhm,
Just like we said before, go engage with their post activity 4 or 5 times.
mhm.
Then you can send them a message that says, gosh, I keep seeing you on posts that I comment on or you're comment on or you like and I'm commenting on, and then ask if they'd be interested in getting on a call or a Zoom to get to know each other. Same concept as we talked before, same mindset. What do you think about that, Tom?
I think both you should test them. There's pros and cons of each, right? If you're able to connect with somebody first, and then you start commenting and engaging with their material or with their content, then it's even probably more likely that you get shown on their watch and in other places because you're directly
Yeah.
connected on that. Um, And, there's also that when people do accept you as a connection, or when you accept a connection, you are taking that step, right, in building the commitment to the relationship to that degree.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree with you. There'll be a lot fewer that probably that you'll get accepted than you will before.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that you need to try both. If that's what I do. I mean, I try
Yeah.
both. I've done both. Um,
I agree. I agree.
and there are, and again, it goes back to mindset. I don't do it from a necessarily from a standpoint of, oh, is this a better strategy so I can, it's more, hey, this is a person I can just tell right away I want to be connected with. Maybe we have a lot of common connections. Maybe there's a lot of reasons that it's a legitimate way to reach out and connect right away, versus
Hmm.
somebody who, is third level. We don't have any other connections. We don't have a lot of commonality. Okay, then let's, maybe take some more time to see if it makes sense for us to be connected. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm kind of beating the dead horse here maybe, but this whole ability to have the relationship as the mindset really, really helps the process and helps your decision making process around the way.
Yeah. So I want to address this, and I love Candace, and I love that we can disagree. And I want to explain this because Candace, in some ways, I do agree with you, but what I find is, and what Candace says, if somebody can't see this, or is she disagrees with me on what I just said about connect, engage, and then ask for, and then send a message and connect. Candace, where I disagree is that I think depending on the individual, you're very social on social media. You post a lot. So you've got that a little bit of an influencer behind you side. When I'm talking with salespeople or maybe even business owners who are just getting started and they don't yet have that as a rhythm, that I think the connect, engage before you send the message. And also to address this part, Candace, and also not everyone we're trying to prospect is posting. Again, I agree 100% with that. And that's why we can go engage with their post activity, which is not necessarily them posting. As long as they're active in social, and that could be LinkedIn, it could be Twitter, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, as long as they're active, we have the opportunity to use our activity in order to get introduced to them or get in front of them. So they may just like a post, but if we come along after them by going directly to their post activity page and we comment on a post that they like, they're going to get that notification. And that for me is almost as valuable as if they posted. And if they posted, there's nothing, we can't control it. I can't control if they're going to post.
Yeah, and that, maybe this is a subject for another day, but that is a question that I get quite frequently is, well, what if they don't actively post? And what if they're lurkers, right? They don't do anything on
Mm-hmm.
social. Maybe they're not on social at all. Or if they are on social, they're lurkers. They're not liking, they're not commenting, they're not doing any of those things. That may be something we need to take up on another,
Yeah.
session.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that's where I don't think that social selling for me is social selling anymore. Social is part of your overall sales approach.
Mhm.
And, just like some people are they're never in their office anymore. Well, cold knocking on their door, just showing up and trying to, ask a receptionist if they're available, it's
Okay.
just no longer an option.
Yeah.
You have to go through different channels or different
Sure.
mediums. If they never go to a networking event, well, then going to networking events to meet them is not going to be your option, right? Just to beat a dead horse, they never go to trade shows. Well, you're never going to be able to meet them at a conference. Then you have to find other ways, and that's okay.
Well, and again, I don't want to go off on the path, but you know, I'll just give you one example, right, of that is, a lot of people who are not necessarily active on LinkedIn at all. Maybe they're not active or they're very inactive on LinkedIn. They are active on Facebook because they use Facebook for a personal, social network. They use it to communicate with their friends, their family, their kids, their grandkids, whatever the case may be. And so there's, lots of ways to there's lots of channels I guess, for ways to potentially
Yeah.
engage with somebody. Um, and not everybody is going to be on LinkedIn. Not everybody is going to be, but a lot are, and more are. And frankly, I'm seeing people that I never would have expected being on LinkedIn actually, at least on some sort of, if it's once a month or a couple times a month, commenting or doing something on LinkedIn that I wouldn't have even expected from those people. So I think it's growing, more and more people involved in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna pull this up. And Candace, I just saw your other comment. Please, you can disagree with me all you want in the comments with this stuff. I love you as well. I adore you also. And this is what makes us all better as having these conversations. Um, I don't disagree. I don't agree with you. If you engage with someone because they like to post by commenting on it, it's not a guarantee, but it's very high likelihood that LinkedIn is going to send them a notification. And what I see is they send emails. And if we think about it, because we're really kind of piggybacking on LinkedIn's goal, right? LinkedIn is going to tell them that you commented on something they liked, because LinkedIn's goal is to get them to come back into LinkedIn and read your comment, because it's all about content. So I disagree, Candace. I think that is one of the best strategies that we can actually do, because we get the power of LinkedIn behind us, because we're doing exactly what LinkedIn wants us to do, which is go comment and create digital conversation. And there's Candace's response. Let's talk about it, Candace. We need to jump on a Zoom and chat about this, or you come back on the show and we'll chat some more.
Are you
But
asking Candace
Tom,
for a meeting?
you know what? I probably asked too soon, didn't I? No.
Yeah, yeah. Let's slow down a little bit here, Brandon.
Hey, Candace and I are actually in process of arranging a Zoom personally just for us to meet to talk about our own faith journeys. And
Okay.
I'm excited to do that. So I think I could ask Candace for a meeting. But before we run out of time, Tom, I want to throw one more, and the third approach with the social outreach system. And this might be where Candace does really well, is there's the opportunity of commenting. And I was talking yesterday just in a private Zoom with Nick Thicket, and Nick said he calls it the rule of three. And I never thought about it this way, but I think, Nick, big shout out to you and the concept of the rule of three. I love it. Is if I comment and they comment back, and then I comment again and they comment back, if I can get three additional comments, then I think it's a great time then to move into a direct message. And you could say, loving the conversation. That's, whatever you want to say as a follow up. Would you be open to get on a Zoom or a call and get to know each other more? What do you think about those, Tom?
I think if the comments that you're talking about are legitimate, comments, right? You're not just making stuff up for the sake of putting something on there, and there's a conversation that's actually developing that's got real value and in real,
Yeah.
um, just real genuine, I guess, then absolutely. If it's again false or it's sort of, just say I'm just trying to keep it going, then it probably isn't going to be a productive Zoom way. So yeah, I think again,
Yeah.
it's the context of everything and the mind of how it's being done. You get the idea
Yeah.
that
And
mindset kind of important to this in my world. Have I brought that
I,
up today? As if I
I
haven't,
was just
I
gonna,
wanted to, maybe cover that before we did that.
yeah. And here's, Candace, that strategy always leads to a meeting for me. And I think part of that is the mindset, right? She's a giver. I think also what's extremely important with this that helps escalate all that is by posting, right? The more content you post and do this type of engagement, that 1-2 punch, I think is so crucial for effectiveness.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to, as we're wrapping up, Andre, I do not want to forget your question. And I think, I know Candace was addressing some of it, but Andre asks, why is there a limit on how many people you can message to connect with, even with a paid or premium account? Hey, Andre, I think this is one of those knee-jerk reactions LinkedIn did because people were abusing it. There's a lot of technology that was built that technically breaks the terms of service, but they were automating connection requests by the thousands just to see if somebody would accept it, and then putting them into a email cadence or a direct message cadence. Again, it breaks the terms of service with LinkedIn. But I think that from what I understand and everything I read, that was LinkedIn's response to people abusing the technology. Tom, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know, what is it? What is the limit now? 30 a day? 30, 35 a day? It's 50,
I know it is 100 a week, but I never
okay.
send that many in a day, so I've never really hit that ceiling.
Yeah, I don't, and I do think there is, from what I know, and these are, um, I don't, these aren't exact facts, but I've heard that if you're doing 20, 25 a day, then, and you have a premium account, you're probably okay. But if you're starting to do 50 a day and all of that, then you can get the LinkedIn slap at some point. But again,
Yeah,
I don't know that it's consistent, and it probably changes all the time as well.
yeah. Yeah, and here's Candace said it's 100 a week for premium, and I have
Okay.
noticed with this, like when that 100 limit came in, I was calculating mine, and I was like 106, 107, 109
Yeah.
before they said I had to wait until the following week. So it wasn't a perfect number, which I thought was really odd because with code it could be a perfect number.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's
but
somebody sitting there watching, and they said, "All right,
yeah.
Ben, and we're going to let you go to 106 this week because those are really
Yeah,
good messages you're sending."
yeah. And I think Candace is right, is that the
Yeah, because it
response
probably,
matters.
if you probably get a response, maybe that comes off your number, right? So if you get 10
Yeah,
responses or whatever.
yeah. Tom, I'll let you take a first crack at this. Brian's question. So for those not on LinkedIn, finding them on other socials is recommended as a question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, Again, depending upon what your business you're in and the type of people you're trying to reach, and even I mean, there's just a lot of variables, but the answer is sure, absolutely. Um,
Yeah,
and there's lots of ways to reach people, right? There's lots of channels, there's lots of ways to reach people. And again, as long as you're doing it from a genuine perspective, sure, absolutely. That's my opinion.
did you use that mindset word again?
No, I'm not,
You
I don't,
chose genuine, but
I'm not a big fan of mindset. I kind of just say, do what you want to do.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Brian, what I would say is it's worth the look for sure, right?
Yeah.
They might have hobbies that they're doing on Instagram, for
Well,
me.
and Twitter is huge on a lot of people, right? A lot of people are on
Yep,
Twitter that aren't anywhere else, and they're very active on Twitter, or
yep,
those, and even, believe it or not, TikTok, which is an area that we're just starting to investigate, and we'll talk more about, I think, in future shows. But I
yep.
think that could be a viable, believe it or not, a viable business channel as well.
Absolutely. I think it is. I don't even think there's a question. I think,
Yeah,
like most other channels, the question is how consistent are you?
yeah,
And are you actively going out and engaging? I think when the mindset is if I post it, they will come. Well, the question is which platforms are right for you. But
yeah,
if the mindset is I'm going to go be social, which is for me, it takes two things. You're going to post and you're going to engage, then almost any channel can be a good channel, but it depends on where your people are.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Shall we do one more question from Brian and then we'll wrap it up because we're pushing our limit here. I noticed in my personal CRM decks that they have fields for IG, FB, LI, and Twitter. I'll even put in custom fields for things like a personal website and YouTube channel. Yeah, Brian, we have inside of Funnel Amplified, which is my tool, we have the engagement cadence feature that can be used with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And what that means is if you use our Chrome extension, if you're on their profile and you use our Chrome extension, it'll put it into your Cadence, and you can set like a, hey, I want to be reminded every 2 days, 3 days, once a week, whatever your right rhythm is. And when you hit go engage with them, it's going to take you right to their most recent post activity. So it's a very efficient way for you to be able to see what they're doing. And I think all of those are good tools to take a look at. Like I was saying, you may find, as an example, it could be Twitter or anything, but you may find, and this is what happens for me, is that I know people that are more actively posting on Instagram for things like their hobbies, but they're people I want to meet in for business. And so I can actually go to their post on Instagram and comment. And it might be their photography, it might
Sure.
be, for me, I post more on like Instagram, on TikTok about the hiking my wife and I do. I post a little bit more on there about using my Blackstone griddle, because it's just not relevant for me to post about those things all the time on LinkedIn. But if somebody was over there and they started sharing like Blackstone griddle recipes with me, man, I would engage it in a hurry.
Yep. No, I think that's right. Right. It's all part of the relationship. It doesn't have to be a business conversation to get it going.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And it's the same thing if we're a networking event and somebody starts talking about
right.
baseball, professional baseball or football or whatever, our hobby, we're going to engage the conversation. We're right there with them.
Sure. That's usually the way most of those start, you know?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Well, Tom, you want to wrap us up for the
yeah, I
day?
think we need to wrap this up. So I think that I think this is a really, obviously the meeting, right, is uh is a big issue with people, right? It's a big objective. It's a big milestone. But in my opinion, I think if we just look at the meeting as just a step along the way, and it's just a step along the way of the relationship, and obviously think about what that meeting you want that meeting to lead to. What is the
Yeah.
next thing? And again, going back to the stuff that I just, continue to marvel at from our conversation with Carson is to then continue to use the social strategy to continue to build the relationships and continue to
Yeah.
build, maybe I get a meeting with you and your company, and now I use that as a way to reach out to 4 or 5 other people in the company and build more relationships with people in that, it just kind of keeps growing from there. So,
Yeah.
um, to me, it's just a step along the way and an important step, but I'm not sure it's like the end all be all. That's the only
Yeah.
sometime that's it's not the end of the whole process. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Andre and Brian and Candace, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
And early on,
Yeah.
we had Nick and Deborah. If I missed anyone else, I'm sorry. There was quite a few of you responding today, which was really cool. Thank you so much for that. And just a reminder, like we love these conversations, we love these topics. If you have any other topics that you want us to speak about, you might be watching this on Tom's feed, you might be watching it on my feed, but send us a message, give us the topics. Or if you want to come join us and have a conversation online, Candace, come and let us know, and we'll bring you on, and we can have a chat together. And just as a reminder, Tom is one of the co-founders of Lead Smart Technologies, and he's the author of The Revenue Zone. And I am the co-founder of Funnel Amplified with our social prospecting engagement cadence tool. And hey, do us a favor, go check them out. Let us know what you think, and help us stay motivated with doing the shows by helping drive traffic to our own companies as well. Is that a nice, easy way to pitch us, Tom?
You didn't ask for a meeting.
I didn't ask for a meeting.
So,
Absolutely.
all right.
All
Thanks
right,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, Candace. Have a great week.